Most of what's being taught online about femininity today is complete garbage. A lot of the women teaching it have no idea what they're talking about. They confuse femininity with dependency. They glamorize laziness, entitlement, and the idea that your only purpose is to be chosen. But that's not femininity. Real femininity is self-respect, intelligence, and intention. And no one represents that better than Amal Clooney, a woman who built a global career as a human rights lawyer, all while staying graceful, elegant, and feminine. And in the process, she attracted one of the most famous men in the world, George Clooney. Today, we're breaking down how she did it, how she balanced ambition and femininity, and what we can actually learn from her story. Amal Alamuddin was born in Lebanon, but her family moved to England when she was still a baby to escape the Civil War. Her dad was an entrepreneur and her mom was a journalist. They didn't come from privilege. Everything they had, they earned through discipline and determination. And growing up in that environment shaped Amal. She grew up surrounded by discipline, education, and high standards. Her parents taught her that even if you start with nothing, you can still build a beautiful life through hard work and education. And that's exactly what she did. Amal spent her 20s building her foundation. She studied at some of the most prestigious universities in the world, graduated at the top of her class, and while many people her age were chasing parties, validation, and relationships, she was chasing excellence. She treated her mind as her greatest asset. And that mindset allowed her to become one of the top human rights lawyers in the world by her early 30s. That's what makes her stand out, because today, many of us have lost touch with our ambition. There's so much noise on social media telling us that our worth comes from how we look or who we date instead of who we become. We all want a beautiful life, to feel confident, loved, and fulfilled, but most of us aren't doing the inner work to get there. That's why so many of us end up settling, not because we lack potential, but because we want shortcuts. We want the dream life without building the dream versions of ourselves first. Amal didn't take shortcuts. She didn't wait for someone to save her. She built the life she dreamed of on her own. So when she finally met her dream man, she wasn't looking for validation or attention. She already had a meaningful career, a purpose, and a strong sense of self that didn't depend on anyone else. They met through a mutual friend at a dinner party in 2013, and according to George, the moment he saw her, he knew she was different. For years, he had said he'd never get married again, but that changed when he met Amal. And what drew him in wasn't her looks or her status. It was her intelligence, her warmth, and her confidence. She was polished but kind, smart but humble. She didn't chase him or try to impress him. She was simply herself, and that was enough. Within a year, they were married. Amal was 36, George was 53. For a man who once swore he'd never settle down, Amal became the exception. And that alone is such an important reminder, because so many women think that if they're not married by 25 or in a long-term relationship by 30, it means they've missed their chance. But Amal's story shows that what's meant for you will never miss you. It might not happen when you want it to, but it will happen when you're ready for it. She didn't find love because she chased it. She found it because she became the kind of woman who was aligned with the life she wanted. When you focus on developing yourself, your mind, your standards, your confidence, life has a way of aligning everything else around that. After the wedding, Amal's life changed instantly. Overnight, she became one of the most photographed women in the world, but she never let that change her. She stayed grounded, she kept her career, and she continued doing meaningful work. A few years later, she became a mother to twins and still managed to balance everything with grace. And that's the key word here, balance. Amal didn't give up her career to fit into a box. She didn't sacrifice her ambition to appear more traditional. She made both work because she knew who she was. And that's something a lot of women need to hear. You can build a career and have a family. You can be ambitious and still feminine. It's not one or the other. Amal represents the kind of woman we need to see more of today. She's ambitious, educated, and successful, but she's also kind, grounded, and feminine. She doesn't have to act soft to be likable. She doesn't have to hide her success to be loved. She's proof that real femininity isn't about depending on a man. It's about knowing your worth, setting standards, and showing up with confidence and class. And because she carried herself that way, she attracted a man who respected and matched her energy. So stop letting the internet convince you that femininity means being passive or lazy. It doesn't. Amal Clooney built her life first, and love followed when it was supposed to. She's living proof that you can be ambitious, feminine, and loved all at once. Work on your goals, keep your softness, and never forget, you don't have to choose between success and love. You can have both, because when you build yourself first, everything else naturally falls into place.